Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. How's everybody doing today? This is Big Cheds coming to you live here Wednesday, April 11th, 2018. We are joined in the house by Big Chonis. How you doing, buddy?
Hey, Cheds. How are you today?
Doing pretty good. Pretty good, man. Let's get these people caught up to speed on what's going on, you know? Let's give people that medicine. They want to know what's up. So you can follow me on Twitter at Big Cheds. Find my man here at Big Chonis, a rising star of social media. And please subscribe to our videos. So Big Chonis, where are we at right now? Where are we at? What's going on?
Well, you know, we've been watching Bitcoin past couple days of price action, you know, pretty much a lot of sideways action here, you know, trying to find some direction in the market. I'm trying to talk about how come we haven't fallen through the floor yet. There's a lot of talk online, a lot of charts I see about this inevitable 6,400 test that we're going to break and basically touch 6,000 and flirt with that low that we saw in early February. And then from there, you know, maybe there'll be a small bounce and then basically we start to head lower from there. So everybody's kind of like, at least the bears are kind of like looking for that action to happen. And what we were seeing is this constant kind of sideways movement in this tightening we're seeing here, where we're slowly coming to some sort of a head soon, it seems. But why hasn't it fallen through the floor yet? And a lot of that I feel has to do with just kind of right, you know, the bulls don't have a reason yet to basically liquidate. There really hasn't been a lot of selling pressure. 6,400, 6,500 has acted as support a couple times here, and they're really showing the market right now really doesn't have a lot of that incentive to basically sell lower than those points there. And because of that, that's kind of, I think, why we're holding up. Now, the bulls, I mean, we're still in a downtrend. This is obviously a clear downtrend still, but because of this stabilizing moment here, we're kind of allowing a lot of the indicators, a lot of the moving averages to kind of catch up with each other, which is a positive thing. A lot of sideways action normally sometimes can signal some sort of accumulation period is happening where you know, people are loading slowly at a consistent price level. We're not really seeing a ton of that just because the volume has still been pretty low over the past several days here. A lot of indicators from terms of trend lines are basically suggesting that we're coming close to something, at least in this current, you know, pattern here. Looking at the shorts and longs, you're seeing a lot of sentiment is very bearish still. The shorts remain right now pretty much at all-time high levels. The longs are kind of in the slow downtrend, but really haven't released themselves yet and kind of liquidated themselves with any conviction. And whenever one is more extreme than the other one right now, where shorts is basically way, or I won't say way overbought, but definitely very high up on the chart in its recent price movement, those moments can be moments of vulnerability where somebody with some deep pockets and some money could really push this market up, forcing those shorts to liquidate, because most of that is bought on margin accounts. So they basically have to act if the price starts to go pretty fast in one direction. And that could actually cause Bitcoin to basically find some momentum and actually move up. You know, we're all kind of seeing how the 7,000 area has played a resistance for several times. You know, we were able to poke our head above it a few times and basically we got rejected, and now it's almost feels like it's struggling to just get back up to that 7,000 range. But the longer we kind of tread sideways here, you could make an argument that this is actually bullish and that you can kind of maybe begin to build a little bit on the stability, but there's still a ton of resistance levels above. It would take a pretty strong move to really change the market sentiment short term and get that feeling that we could break out of that 73, 7,400 level, which has acted as a very strong resistance for a while, and try and see if we could flirt with that 8,000 area. Volume isn't really showing that's a possibility yet, and there's still some time to kind of see how this wedge angle is kind of play out.
I think it's some great analysis. I think you know, some group is going to get caught because, you know, we're sideways, so everyone's placing their bets. I think what's notable in this period of sideways movement, Big Chonis, is that this has given altcoins a little bit of a position to move. So I think that's the climate we always talk about. We want to see sideways or a stable Bitcoin in order for altcoins to move.
That's an interesting point because, altcoins are priced in Bitcoin, and you can also buy some in Ethereum as well. So the actual value of price of Bitcoin is significant in terms of the valuations of these alts. This sideways movement in Bitcoin is also coinciding with a lot of these alts basically having sold off 70 to 80% of their all-time highs they were probably hitting back in early January. So you kind of have a potential good risk versus reward entry point on a chart combined with sideways Bitcoin action has produced a lot of these alts here to have some pretty nice moves over the past several days. Some, 20, 50, even over 100%. Now, not all this price action in the alts is created equal. You're seeing some that have basically had great moves like XVG, kind of slow and steady, consolidation, moving up. Some like EOS, which have had a really nice run recently. And some have kind of been just quick pops, not really sustaining, but an overall trend. One that comes to mind actually was ZRX, where we've seen several huge candles that basically pop up and get sold off into. However, the uptrend itself is still continuing, and we noticed this morning that it was almost flirting again with that 9,000 Satoshi area again. So even with these big green candles that get sold off into, we're basically seeing the uptrend continue on these as long as Bitcoin can basically maintain this low volatility moment. I don't feel like this is the bottom on altcoins. I think could be a temporary movement here. I can't really say this is new money kind of flowing into altcoins. Almost feels like, well, if Bitcoin's kind of run sideways for a few days, let's see if we can find some other action. And that's why I think there has been some money flowing into the alts, which we've seen over the past 2 weeks. Really, April 1st is really kind of where everything started, a lot of these charts. And we basically have 10 solid days of some great price action in a bunch of these alts. A lot of the alt charts that I've been checking out also look very similar, where you're starting to see kind of this curve around uptrend starting to be put in on some, and then all of a sudden you just see a few green candles start to perk up, and then a few of them, select ones, have shot up. It's very important to keep an eye on which ones right now actually are also moving. That might give you a sense of market sentiment, where the ones that actually feel there might be a little more potential down the road, and the ones that are just kind of ICOs that seem to have gone nowhere, or not much interest in them behind it in terms of like social media and stuff.
That's a great point. I appreciate that analysis. So just real quick, let's move on to Ethereum and Litecoin. But for me, I see a pretty clear bear pennant pattern, Bitcoin on the 1 hour, big Chonis. So that's kind of how I'm viewing what's going on right now with Bitcoin. It's consolidating. We have some trend lines here, so we'll see which trend line breaks. Just because you have a bear pennant, it doesn't mean you can't bullishly break that bear pennant. Let's see, Ethereum. Let's see how Ethereum's doing. Pretty good. Oopsie, I don't want to draw that. Yeah, Ethereum's doing pretty good, Big Chonis. Looking at the 4 hour, we have some higher lows, which is nice, and we're breaking. We're starting to put in some higher highs. So Ethereum looks pretty good. But the question is, how much more room does it have to run? I mean, you could argue it's a bearish flag as well. So, if it puts in a higher high here, it's a bearish flag. So what do you see on Ethereum right here?
Yeah, Cheds, if you want to pull up the daily, I think the thing about Ethereum is that when we saw the RSI so low, was a couple weeks ago, when Ethereum basically was hitting 360 range for the first time. We had seen other times in history where the RSI had basically been bottomed out that much. And every time it had, there was a nice little pop that was produced. This one was super oversold, and you kind of saw the OBV sell off, and a lot of indicators were really just bottomed out. So amongst the big three, it definitely kind of had the best kind of bounce opportunity, just because it went much farther lower in its recent downtrend.
Yeah,
that's kind of what you're seeing here the past few days. A lot of the The percent volume, Ether has been the leader in that. The ratio ETH to BTC has also been on a rip as well, because basically you're seeing Ethereum basically gain at a little higher, a little faster rate than Bitcoin is, although that kind of has leveled out as well. So it's been a little bit stronger, but it also at this point now is becoming a little overbought as well. You know, stock RSI, we're back to that top off area. The actual RSI, you know, it definitely shows it could still have some run. So maybe a little correction isn't out of the cards there. The OBV stabilized, but really didn't shoot up. And, you know, again, we're only talking, we're up $60. So we're up, what, 15% tops from our low there. So it's not a huge move, but it's basically been over several period of days here, almost a week and a half. That's important. You know, that stabilization issue is important. The volume, though, is still pretty low.
That's a great point. That's a great point. You brought up several things. You know, you talked about when the RSI dipped that low. I kind of circled on screen back to, well, whatever, December 6th. So you had the RSI kind of a classic double bottom there, and the price bounced off prior peaks, these prior resistance points that became support. Big Chonis from what was that, June 13th area, and then August 31st. So that's kind of interesting. I think a couple things jump out right now. So you said the stock RSI is hot, Big Chonis, but look how low the RSI is still at 36. So I quickly zoomed back. Let's go back to like November 20th, right? And we had the stock RSI at a very similar point, but we still had like a big run from there, right? So I think we have to somewhat skeptically view the stochastics RSI here, given how low the RSI is.
That's a good point, because we've seen areas where it's been up there for several days.
Yep. So that's number one. Number two, OBV, you're right. But if I'm comparing the OBV here to this other the run back in the November. So I'm not, you know, I think it actually could, I'm not saying it's going to, but that's something to look for. Now, if it's going to do that type of move, the issue is it has to break this resistance. We have some clear, very clearly defined resistance area now, Big Chonis, from late November to just the middle of December, right? Just in this price area up here around 450, 460, right? So we got to keep an eye on that as we go forward. So that's a great point. Let's do Litecoin, and then I'll ask you to give us some insights on the depth chart. Litecoin, let's go ahead and go to, let's go 4 hour on Litecoin. And the 4 hour has some room to run. It's consolidating. Not really overly strong, not really overly weak either. What are you seeing?
You know, Litecoin's been interesting. It's really likes to hold this area here. God, we've been at 112 to 115 now. It feels like forever.
Yeah.
If you look at the hourly chart, I mean, we were just pegged sideways, like almost like a body with no pulse there.
Well, what does that tell you, though? What does that? I mean, what does that tell you, man?
So, all right. So I see that. The first thing I want to look at is the volume. Am I seeing this as a kind of loading, you know, volume here? And I'm not really. I mean, it's not consistent. There's some areas where there's barely any loading yet, or any volume yet. The price remains stable. It's a little, I mean, it's rising wedge-ish. You know, I still feel it's basically bearish still. I don't have any reason on it to be bullish. Other than that, this stability is very good. If Bitcoin were to make a pop, Litecoin would definitely follow. There's a couple psychological things, though, that differ Litecoin from Ether slightly, and definitely from Bitcoin, and that's really the price point. Low 100s. Think about, like, I have 2 Bitcoins. So right now that would be worth about 12 grand. But when Bitcoin was, you know, $1,000, that was like 2,000. So Litecoin being, you know, 115, if you have 2 Litecoins, that's $230. Now that's a nice piece of money there, but it's not the kind of everyday big money that $2,000 would be to most people. So people who own some Litecoin, who maybe bought in the 200s or even the 300s, or God forsaken the 400s and still hold on to it. You know, having a couple Litecoin at these price points really doesn't force them to liquidate. Really doesn't make them think, oh, if I have to sell this because it could drop other $5, $10, $15, and that's where I'm gonna, you know.
So let me back you up. So if I think you're making the point, and you're making a couple good points, but let's say we presume the range is from here to $400, and they're saying, you know, even if I'm average at $400, let's say I'm average at 350. If it's at 115 and it might go to 100 or 95, I'm really not going to sell, is what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying, because of what that, you know, people that, yes. So here's the thing though. Are you thinking that, is that something logical to think about if there were a situation where Litecoin could potentially bottom in like a $50 to $75 range? Now that's actually, think about it, wow, do I want to lose another $30, $40 potentially off every one of my Litecoins in the next, what, few weeks or so, few months? Is that potential still out there? Or do I say, you know what, at this point, I'm just going to hold strong along and see how it goes? And I think that's interesting because for Litecoin to drop under 100, the kind of people that would have to really liquidate would be massive. And they'd have to be scared at a point where Bitcoin must have been falling to a point where that will happen. And it just feels like it's something so much harder with Litecoin just based on its current valuation. However, it is had an amazing year last year. It was up tens of thousands of %. So it definitely, from a chart perspective, can easily fall through $100 and find kind of its real base, legacy base, potentially somewhere in the $60 to $75 range at some point if we get to there. So that downside risk, I feel, is definitely still there with Litecoin. But because from a psychological standpoint, it's at a lower price point, it would really take something epic to kind of facilitate that kind of a dip.
Yeah, we would need some major panic, some flea event. And I feel like we already faded a lot of that, man, like earlier in this year, right? And late last year. You know, listening to you talk, what's notable to me is, so you see how this is kind of like a good support area. It's not breaking, right? And we have like, you know, 20, maybe 20 candles, 20, 30 4-hour candles, Big Chonis. We have 20 or 30 4-hour candles in this area, right? So if we break this, if we go lower, that all becomes resistance. You see what I'm saying? So that's notable, right? Or, you know, if we do break it, we got to get back up above here pretty quickly, I think, because this could become a major resistance area.
That's a great point, because now, since we've been here for so long, if we were to break down through 109, which was kind of where we bounced a few weeks ago, you're right. Now this 109 to 114 level is a tremendous resistance level and could potentially be the top of whatever bounce may occur if we break down lower. Yeah,
so that's something to keep an eye on. I don't think that will happen, but if it does, that's how we have to play it if we're going to be objective. So let's do a couple alts. I'll just do a couple just for fun.
If I can bring up one point, if I may, if it pleases the court.
Yes, sir.
Before you start in the alts, it's actually about alts.
Yeah.
You know, I was thinking about like the market cap kind of the alts, basically everything other than Bitcoin right now, is very close to where it was back in November. And I think back to November a lot. We were actually having this conversation about, you know, when I bought Litecoin in your kitchen during Thanksgiving, and I was thinking about that price at like $72, I think, and just, I wonder what this will be like next year. Maybe it could be $100, you know, by next summer or something like that. Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah.
And, you know, literally like, you know, 4 weeks later, we were over $200-300 there. But all this basically started in November. So from an alts perspective, from a thing, we're kind of back from a price perspective, from a valuation on a lot of these alts, kind of spread out as we were, as if that whole bull run had never really actually happened.
Or if a more modest run was kind of just finishing up, or, you know what I mean? Like, because if you go 70 to 120 or 110, that's a big move in a few months.
It is, but think about a lot of the money that got in after that, that got wrecked. Okay, they're basically trying to kind of figure out how to get back into this game. Those who had been in it prior to November, potentially for a year or so, you take away that bull run, and you could argue that there could be basically back to where they were then. So my point through all this is you're seeing a lot of this stabilization and nice little pops in some of these alts. Perhaps that's because the valuations of these are kind of back to where some people remember them before this epic bull run happened at the end of last year. And maybe that's why you're seeing kind of this semi-positive momentum in the alts right now.
Yeah, and they were just so beat down. I mean, it feels like forever we were just like, man, these are so beat down. Like they got to bounce eventually. And then when they start bouncing, we're surprised they're bouncing. So human nature's funny. I'm going to do EOS because I know that's been popping. We have some, wow. Okay, 4 hour. I mean, that's some major volume here. We have increasing bull buy volume here on the 4 hour. This candle's about to close. And it's given up some, but it hasn't really given up. I mean, it's given up not all, a little bit, maybe a third, 40%, but it's still looking pretty darn strong on this 4 hour chart. What do you have to say about EOS, Big Chonis?
Yeah, I mean, this is a massive move here. The volume, I mean, we have, in the 4 hour, we have almost 16 hours of just great money flow flowing into this. It basically found a bottom, apparently, at least short term, back mid-March there. Really quickly, basically pulled itself back up. Nice little consolidation there. I don't know. It kind of looks like this could be the end of wave 3 potentially.
It could be, but look at look on the screen. I just went back while you're talking. I'm sorry to interrupt.
No.
This could be this. It could stop here. I mean, I don't like to be the guy who tells people, but look at the RSI is obscene right now on the 4 hour, and it's just hitting some key areas here. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is where it stops and starts to consolidate.
Yeah, I mean, this is a massive move here. We're way outside, our trend line, the Bollingers, open right up there. Stock RSI. I mean, everything is pegged off. You don't see, especially the RSI, you don't see it pegged off super like that for very long at all.
Nope.
If you were able to ride this wave here, I'm sure a lot of people are starting to take profits now. But let's not kid ourselves here. This one has some money flow in it. It's pretty consistent. If it can kind of consolidate here and find some stability, there's no reason why this doesn't have legs to continue.
Look at the 1 hour though. I just tweeted something. Look at the 1 hour right now. This candle that's about to finish up. What are you seeing?
The 1 hour is yeah, I mean, it definitely topped off there. Right, we really couldn't go any higher than like 11.6 there.
Yeah, so I would say this looks like it should go back to 10.4. And that would be your most logical support area. See where those upper wicks, where it had those 3 candles that hit like 10.4 resistance, Big Chonis?
10.4, roger that. Good
10.4, 10.5, yeah. So I'd keep an eye on that. I would anticipate a retest 5 Satoshis, 100 Satoshis lower. Let's just check out XVG. We'll do a couple ones, then me and you. Oh, XVG, okay. XVG looks like it might be not like 100% confirmed. Oh, yeah, my apologies. We're going to go back to GDAX and do the order flow. XVG might be breaking. This is kind of a bullish flag. It might be breaking it, but it's not really confirmed yet. Oh, it did have a nice little move, though, already, and now there's some profit taking. What are you seeing in XVG?
Yeah, I mean, this has been one of the more steady movers here. It actually started before April 1st there. You mentioned there was some pending news that they had kind of what do they call it, where they basically almost, like 3 weeks prior to, so it's the horse trying to catch the carrot in front of them, and we're getting, I think the closer we get to that date,
the more dangerous it is to hold, I think. Frankly, not that I think this is bullish right here. Actually, on the 4 hour looks really good. I think this might have one more run in it before it's. I mean, what is it? It's the 11th. So this might have one more run in it, but I'd be very careful holding it right, 15th or 16th, because it's always you buy all the people. Even if it's the best news in the world, like we just hired Michael Jordan, right? Like like price gains are already built in. Like this is running because of anticipation of great news. So even if it meets that minimum threshold of great news, it's already baked in, right? So that's why to buy rumor, sell news, and you know, just as a metaphor for life, Big Chonis. If you think about things, isn't it always true that like almost the anticipation of something is better than the event? You know, like you're gonna go see a great movie, and it's just the idea of sitting there and being in the movie theater and really enjoying it. You almost have the experience before it happens. You know what I mean? Like the anticipation is almost always better than the event because your imagination can imagine anything. Do you see what I'm saying?
Yeah, that's why the tease is such a turn on and kind of gets your juices flowing. Because if you just see it all at once, then you kind of, you know.
We're talking about charting here, right?
Oh, I'm sorry, I misunderstood. Yeah, that I agree with that as well. Yes.
Okay, so just as a reminder, that was
well, that's the thing. Yeah, you have a situation. I'll just finish up with XVG there. You have this situation where there's some news out there. They did a very smart thing by basically pushing it out for several weeks to allow this kind of run to build, which has allowed it to grow structure, which is important. So unlike some super buy the rumor, sell the news situations, because the accumulation has been so strong on this, if it were to correct after the news was dropped, let's say, it'll be interesting to see basically how strong it really is. And because it's basically spread out this gain over the past several weeks, I would assume it would be stronger than one that would just be a quick run for a few days.
No, it would pull back. It would probably pull back to like 1,000 or like 900 area is my guess, potentially. Let's go. Why don't you, and once again, this is, that was Big Chonis. You can find him on Twitter at Big Chonis. You can find me at Big Cheds. And why don't you walk us through the depth chart, Big Chonis?
All right. This is going to get pretty deep, so let's you know, put the snorkel on there. So you know, the depth chart, GDAX. You know, it's a great way to really see real time. You know, what's happening in the market, what's market sentiment like.
Sure. What are my settings? What are my settings here?
Okay, so let's start with Bitcoin. It's fine. Let's do a dollar aggregation, and let's zoom all the way out. Basically, we can start with that on the depth chart there and kind of get more of a broader sense of where everything kind of stands. You know, constantly watching the depth chart just to get a sense of where we are. We're seeing there's a lot of money still positioned at lower prices here. The angle of the bear slope, which is the red slope there, is slightly higher, showing
than before, slightly higher than before, not higher than the green.
Than the green, which is showing me two things. It shows me that I think a lot of these, like there's a lot of walls up here because they're trying to prevent a bullish charge, if you will. So I'm seeing this as a slight bullish charge, not very strong, and I'm seeing that in two ways. I'm seeing the angle of the green is very sharp, but not as sharp as I'd want to see it. But the angle of the red is less sharp, which shows they're having to put these higher walls up because they're being attacked more by the bulls, which is showing that in the chart as well, as we have this slow trickle up with a dump and then a slow trickle up, but we really haven't fallen through the floor yet. And because of that stability, I think that's what we're basically seeing there. Another thing, if you want to look at just the order book there, I've been watching that a lot. You know, there's been walls up all the time here. Decent sized ones, you know, over 100 Bitcoin at various price points. But I'm finally seeing on the bid pricing, which is the green ones there, I'm finally seeing every so often some decent bids start to pick up. Several now that have been over 100, which I haven't been seeing at all basically for the past couple days there. Mostly the top bidder taps out around 50 or 60 Bitcoin, at least past couple of days. I've been seeing several times where we're able to get up into the 80s or over 100 Bitcoin at that dollar aggregation price, which is showing me, you know, there is strength there. At least there's not the incentive to basically dump the market yet, because it seems like there are buyers there, though the low volume is suggesting that the strength really isn't showing it there. That's why I kind of feel like we're doing this little trickle up here. If you want to go to the daily chart there, just to get kind of a broader sense of where we've been and where we're going. You know, it's funny, every day we go, we take a day off the back end there. So right now, our back end last candle there is from February 10th. And it's funny because when we bought them, which was back on the 6th, so 5 days ago, you could basically see that last candle where we bought them at 5,800 back over a month ago, 2 months ago. And every day that gets slowly kind of whisked away, and we see kind of a different history kind of in front of us that gives us a sense of where the market is. So we're still seeing this downtrend, but we're seeing this leveling off here, which is definitely kind of interesting. I like to see that. But this is still bearish. The 6 hour, though, is also still bearish, but kind of trying to move up there. And I like to kind of spread them out and kind of see where we are here. Now, you know, the hourly chart is a little bullish still because it started at a higher price point at 7,100 than it is currently now, and kind of work my way down there. The 15-minute chart is bullish, the 5-minute is bearish, and the 1 minute is very bullish, but we don't like to look at that chart.
How about the 3.5 second? I mean, come on, man.
I've lobbied them to have that added. But yeah. So, all right. So one more thing here I just want to talk about. The 6 hour chart, to bring it up one more time. So the overlays, they have the EMA 12, they have the EMA 26. Those are your blue and orange there on the 6 hour chart. And basically we're seeing, you know, the orange act as support, the blue act as support. It kind of breaks down. They act as resistance. And now we're kind of peeking our head up again on top of both of them now. And the last 2 times we've done that, we've been able to ride them for a little bit, and then they crash through. So,
but no cross. Look, notably, we haven't had. I mean, you think we're going to get the cross here? No cross here, no cross here, and then here. I'm not seeing the momentum to suggest a cross. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I agree. Like this wedge, this angle, this triangle, this apex, this sideways apex is getting so tight, but we're still putting in that slightly higher low there, and kind of coming to this area now here where just everything is super tight. This shorts are really trying hard to keep this thing down. The longs are kind of just on the sideline, really trying to hold it up because they're not selling yet. So they're not selling yet. So let's see if we can get some money flowing into this thing the longer we keep it stable. They can't do this forever, though. At some point, the bulls will decide, you know what, we just can't push this thing back over 7.2, back over 7.4. You know, we've had it, or we've pushed it too high too quick. We're now set ourselves up for that kind of drop we always wanted to get into, for that good potential next buying opportunity. We're just not seeing that yet there. But, you know, it's going to happen soon. These don't last forever, these sideways movements here. And I feel we're probably just a day or two away from something real happening that will show us a little more direction in the market.
Okay, well, let's go ahead and take a look at Ethereum as well and Litecoin, because we're not here just for Bitcoin.
This is true. All right, so Ether, same deal we talked about earlier, where we have, you know, a little stronger of a momentum there. On the 6 hour, you basically see how wide the 2 indicators spread out there. And I noticed something too. When they get that wide, that's pretty wide.
The moving averages, or the
moving averages. If you see how far apart the blue and the orange were back on like March 30th to April 1st on the 6 hour chart, to me, that's an example of a move kind of outside the standard deviation of price action.
Sure.
Ether was so oversold to a degree. We saw it on the RSI. We saw it on other indicators. And here you see how wide apart those 2 bars are. And on GDAX, and you know, take note of this, on GDAX, that's very wide. Rarely do you see it that wide. I've seen it wide like that before in oversold areas, but you can see how the price has responded to that and leveled out.
Yeah, but so that's a lagging indicator because it was that wide earlier,
oh,
earlier in the downtrend. So I don't know that you could really get much from it. Potentially, maybe this double bottom here.
That's why
April
the 6
2nd.
hour is only based on that particular movement there, because
Yeah.
what I'm seeing is on that time frame, we were super oversold, and we were able to correct from that. From trying to judge where the bottom of a particular move might be, the GDAX 6 hour, when you see that amount of space in those indicators, I see that as a better risk versus reward indicator in that small time frame.
Yeah, interesting. All right, what about last? So what's the consensus about right now? Yeah.
So it's good, but the depth chart is still bearish. I think Ether out of the big three still has the most to drop.
Okay.
Just based on its epic run it had last year. Even though the fundamentals and how important it is and what have you, if Bitcoin will have its drop, Ether will fall along and potentially have a lot more.
To where though? To where?
I mean, if
330, is it go like 330, 340?
Well, if we break the 360, again, it depends how we get there. But there's lots of history, kind of right around 320 to 340. Then from there, you're talking about psychological, moments at $300, 275. 250, but we don't really have to address that yet because A, it depends how we get there, and B, it depends on the market sentiment of Bitcoin. And the third thing I'll say about it is that there could be a moment soon where there'll be a divergence in price, where let's say Bitcoin is just kind of hanging around, and Litecoin could start to move independently. Ether could start to move independently. So it's called I forgot the term, like the splitting or the deviation or something. But
what was it? The flappening.
The flap. But that could still be in the cards, where there could be the separation from Bitcoin in terms of where the Momo in the market.
Divergence. It's a divergence.
Divergence, something like that. Yeah. So okay. And then Litecoin.
Let's go to Litecoin. Let's check out the order book of Litecoin. So
the order book on Litecoin, it's not something I look at too much, just because we're talking about much higher.
Because you're an elite, you're a Litecoin elitist.
I am an elitist of Litecoin, but the daily is just crazy how sideways we've been all month there.
Yeah.
I mean, we have just found a floor at 113 and are just not breaking it.
Are you playing this though? Like, what do you think?
So, all right, this is a great question, because you have to ask yourself, the last two Litecoin trades I made, I felt were very good risk versus reward opportunities.
Sure.
Right now, is there a reward opportunity potentially? Sure.
As good? No, it's not as good. As good,
but that's the point, So if I wanted to take a Litecoin position now at 114.40, are my expectations 120, 125? What kind of a move would it really take to get there? If Bitcoin was going to attempt 72, 7,300, would that only add, what, $5, $6 max to Litecoin? If that was the case, am I in and out super quick? Am I doing a day trade, or am I doing a swing trade where I'm prepared to allow it play out 3, 4, 5 days?
Right.
Right now, there's nothing that says, this area is a super risky area just because of how strong, let's say, 110 has been in terms of support. But,
However,
the volume's low. Sentiment is still low, and if Bitcoin does decide to break down, Litecoin, I think, I think you'll almost have a chance to see it happen quicker in Litecoin, because, as we mentioned, how the price is right now, people that might want to start to accumulate Litecoin feel that this 114 area is a decent place, or at least to take some.
Absolutely, sure.
But if that sentiment wanes, if they feel, you know what, this is going to go lower, you could potentially see that decline start quicker in Litecoin, almost as like a leading indicator of that, just because of it's the weakest right now, it seems, of the big three.
It's a good point. And I was just, I was looking back, Big Chonis, and this is Big Cheds. I was looking at Bitcoin, I believe, is in a bear flag on the daily chart. So if I believe that, I'd have to assume that's going to probably break down, and therefore Litecoin will have some downward pressure. But once we get that next bottom, I think it's going to be one heck of a trade. You know what I mean?
That's the thing. The upward potential of Litecoin is so tremendous for two reasons. One, it's the price point. Two, it's the access. And three, it's because we already topped off around $420, which is an area, the 420 area, which is an area I'm a big fan of. because we already hit that in our next bull cycle, and I believe there will be a next bull cycle, that precedent of $400 could suggest that Litecoin could definitely break $1,000 at some point on its next bull run, and that's a 10 bag from where we are right now.
$1,000. Okay,
1,000%.
sure.
$1,000. $1,000.
Yep.
Just because once.
So wait, are you shilling Litecoin right now, Big Chonis?
Listen, I am a long-term Litecoin fan, but I just can't be, because of when I entered. I had not been a long-term Litecoin
when did you
holder.
enter? When did you enter?
So around that, well, my very first Litecoin purchase was around when it was like $23. And I remember I just had some extra money left in my Coinbase wallet, and I was kind of buying some more Bitcoin. I'm like, oh, I could just buy like, I don't know, like 17 Litecoins. So I think I did that. And then my next purchase was like $35. And then I remember it went to like $90, like super quick within like a few days. And I was, oh my God, like this is amazing. And then it dropped back to 30 very quickly too. And I was like, oh my God, I'm such an idiot. I didn't sell. I was like, all right, that was fun. That was fun, but okay. And then little did I suspect about the epic run it was about to take me on. But if you think about, when did most people get into Litecoin? Most people who were in it in the teens, the 20s, I mean, you would assume in that run that they basically sold them. You would hope they would have sold the majority of that early Litecoin money. So where is the majority of the base Litecoin money? And it's somewhere between, I'd say, $50 and $75.
Well, it's right there. Well, look, you look at volume by price indicator. It tells us where it is. It's right at $50.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And that's where a lot of that big money base started to form in Litecoin. And then a big amount of people started to come in when it was in the 60s, 70s, and 80s. And I remember it was up there 70 to 90 for at least a month or so. So it was able to kind of grow that good foundation there, load up with stability there, and that's what allowed it to pop to $400 there.
That's different than now. That's different than now. It's just a different context. We might be loading up here, but this is more like trying to find a support, and that was more of a continuation type of a move because you were dealing with a prior peak, right? Yeah,
I don't think we're going to get that low, but I think we could get, or at least put in a higher low than that low area, and that's why I don't think.
Well, what? A higher low than what low area?
Than the $50 area. So basically, we don't break apart. We put in a higher low bottom at some point above $60 to $70, and that creates our foundation for our next run. I mean, so many people that we know who were into Litecoin didn't get until they were like $75 to $85. So, and they're basically like, I don't care. I'm just going to hold. I don't care. So the question is, if they get back to break even, and are they kind of force them to liquidate, and you get that kind of cascade effect where everybody's hands are basically shaken out, and you have this ability to set a brand new foundation.
Hold on though. Weren't you telling me about some market theory where it was like it can only bottom until the hodlers capitulate? So
the people that brought us this bull run to a parabolic move that we experienced, they were gamblers.
The cartel.
But they were gamblers in the sense that a gambler is somebody that gets rich quick by their actions, by their investments, whether it's sports or in terms of high risk, high volatility stocks and crypto. So a lot of that money has been slowly exiting the market as the sense that the moon is just around the corner. So that's a good thing. We don't want that mentality in the market just now. The second thing is, you know, people learned a lesson through this, and it's a very tough one to learn. A lot of people that got wrecked, a lot of people that lost a lot of money, a lot of people that made a lot of money. This was a tremendous learning experience for a lot of new people. And, you know, Cheds, you and I talk about how much we've learned in just a short amount of time, just by going through and experiencing these amazing, you know, price actions. One day you think you can pay off all your bills, and then the next day it's just falling apart, and you just don't know what to do. So these are things that a trader has to deal with, but we're so much more experienced because we've been through it. And I think that's what allows us to kind of easily talk and express what we think is happening in the market now, because we've lived through a very small part of this history, but it was definitely a very important part. And I think the more people live through these moments, the better they become in spotting, you know, what's really happening here. What are my expectations? Am I allowing greed to take over and cloud my mind, or am I forgetting why I'm here, which is to make money and to take profits when I make a smart trade?
So you're just saying that we get more jaded over time.
What's that?
You're basically just saying we get more jaded over time.
Jaded, but if you can learn from that jadedness, you can be in a much stronger position the next time you're presented with an amazing opportunity. I think crypto will definitely present us with that opportunity. So when that happens, you know, everybody listening to us, everybody who follows our tweets and our ideas, will be that much better prepared to know kind of what to do, what their own style is, and how they can implement that in this next trade opportunity. You know, we talk about a lot about indicators.
Oh, Big Chonis, I lost you. I lost you, big brother. I don't know if you're still hearing me. You still there? Lost you. Could be my connection, or he could be gone. But regardless, I am going to go ahead and continue. We have the 4-hour chart up ahead. We have Big Chonis, you still there, buddy?
Yeah.
All right, cool. I lost you for about 30 seconds. Let's go ahead and do ONT. Let's get this. The last is number 3 for volume on Binance, and we'll just say goodbye to our friends here. Another nice little update. Great job, Big Chonis. This is Big Cheds. ONT on the 4-hour, Big Chonis. Looks like we have a little bit of action here. We have a nice bullish move, and it's you know, consolidating nicely as it rises. The 4-hour to me would suggest is not convincing that it's ready to move up just yet. What are you seeing?
Yeah, you know, this one hasn't been on the exchanges that long. Just a great move. I mean, look at that. It basically just keep moving there. The 4-hour. So yeah, the 4-hour says, you know, we probably do a reset there.
1 hour's okay. 1 hour's a little better. Look at that dip below the Bollinger.
But the OBV is really strong. The volume's been consistent.
Yeah.
Yeah. If this can correct properly and basically hold above what 5,600, 5,500 area.
Yeah. 56. Yeah.
Yeah. Then it can definitely put on additional legs. do
you want to do another couple alts, or what do you want to? It's up to you. What do you want to do?
This for a while here. Let's just finish up with. Let's do like 2 more alts, and then we'll just do a quick Bitcoin, and we'll call it a show.
All right, you picked 2.
All right. Any questions? Oh, first of all, I just want to thank everybody for being in the chat here today. It's great to see our 452 of our closest friends here. I guess. Okay, so let's do a little ICX. Yep. ICX. I know this one's interesting here.
And I think we rambled a lot today, so I apologize. I think we were just having fun talking, right, Big Chonis?
You know, once you get into that rhythm, it's hard to get me out of it.
I kind of like these kind of charts like ICX in the 1 hour, where I'm always trying to guess, like, is it ready to bounce yet?
Right.
And it could be getting ready to bounce because you have potentially, you have some support. RSI has support. Stock RSI is kind of, you know, it's almost done resetting. And we're at the middle Bollinger, which is a prior area. This actually might be a nice little trade potentially. What are you seeing?
Yeah, I mean, the volume's okay. It's definitely having a nice little beginning of an uptrend here. I like that. Very similar to a lot of the bullish charts that we've been seeing recently. You know, the 1 hour definitely suggests a bunch of wicks up there, a lot of profit taking there. So this one's close hold in the sense that they're not really allowing this thing to blow pretty quick there, but it definitely is on an upward trend there. Definitely a tradable stock, which is something you like. Tradable ticker, Jesus.
Yeah.
Tradable altcoin. I don't know what to say anymore. You know, based on some of the price action there, I wouldn't be surprised if it put in another leg.
Yeah, I agree. I kind of like it. I think we could potentially retest 33, 34. So I'll be curious to check back in a few hours and see what, if that held up. Why don't you pick one more?
Let's do, oh God, how do I choose all these delicious ones here? We did that one, we did that one. All right, let's do Lend, L-E-N-D.
All right. All right.
We'll
I'm just going to add that real quick.
I'll start with Lend here. I just pulled it up here. It's interesting. It's almost very similar to the chart we just looked at. On the 1 hour I have up here, nice little movement going on here, kind of a rejection wick there, a little profit taking, but nice, definitely bullish impulse wave there. OBV spiked as well, so we'll like to see that. It's not just a quick release and catch. A lot of the moving averages too have kind of basically allowed themselves to coil or to straighten out because this has had such a consolidation period here. I mean, we peaked 2,500 back in the first week of January. Came all the way down to, you know, 600-ish, 500-ish range there. So this super long consolidation while the OBV stays pretty solid. So this could definitely be beginning a move here, just based on what's going on there. The only thing, I mean, even the daily basically suggests that it could have some room to run as well. So yeah, it's nice. It's nice.
Let's see. Yeah, it looks pretty good. It doesn't look as good as the ICX on the 1 hour for me initially, but it still looks pretty good. Looks like, you know, we did clear. For me, what's notable is we were able to close over a prior important prior resistance, which was back on April the 2nd. That high there right around, you know, 620. So that is bullish on the 1 hour for Lend. 4 hour is getting close to being kind of topped off though. So I would be cautious if I was looking to enter here because I'd be wanting to see it actually pull back and retest support, Big Chonis. I'd want to see it potentially pull back and retest like a 595 before I'd start to think about scaling in personally. So that's just my opinion there. Go ahead and find me on Twitter at Big Cheds. You can find my man here on Twitter at Big Chonis. He's doing a great job putting out some content. And of course, well, I don't have up the blog, chedstrading.blogspot.com. Please check that out. That is the complete beginner's guide to cryptocurrency trading. Had a lot of fun today, Big Chonis.
Yeah, Cheds.
What do you say?
Just to finish up here, you know, crypto is not dead. Bitcoin is not dead. There's so much interest still. Real quick news item about Bittrex, which is one of the exchanges that I use. They did two things. They're definitely out there with some mixed reviews. One is they changed up their entire platform. Looks a lot different. I think people are just still trying to get used to it. The other thing is they finally opened up registration for new users. I know a lot of people were very frustrated that they wanted to get into these exchanges and were unable to because of the epic demand. In the end run, I probably actually saved them a lot of money. But now that they opened up for new enrollees, the site crashed because the excitement of that was tremendous. So there's a tremendous demand for crypto. Once we can get more people involved, that's more money flow. More money flow, more money into crypto is a great thing. That's what will basically allow us to begin that next bullish cycle. So we're in this area of regulation, of minor FUD, of the governments of the world trying to figure out that they basically realize now that if they had their chance to end crypto, it was probably back in 2013. And
the cat's out of the bag, Big Chonis.
Cat's out of the bag. You know, this has sailed. And so they basically figured out, all right, we have to figure out how we can integrate this into our economy. I guarantee you at some point, the major banks of the world and America will have crypto trading, and that as a large part of their business. These mainstreaming events are going to create some tremendous opportunities for crypto in the future. I just highly recommend everybody just stays on their toes. We're at a point here where nothing major in terms of price action is going to happen until the bulls decide that it's just not going to move up, or the bears decide that they're able to push this thing down enough. We're just not there yet. If we keep moving sideways, the alts can still find some movement and find some momentum. It kind of seems like where you're seeing a lot of the money flow now. So everything will ride on Bitcoin and its price action. But for right now, it looks a little short-term bullish. And I think we'll see an answer to that question with a break of the trend lines we're seeing either on the up or the down.
Excellent. And that's it. Music's running out. And thanks, you guys. Appreciate you stopping by again, and we'll see you soon. Take care.